Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank this distinguished panel very, very much for the work that you did. I feel almost as though I have always been cursed with having real objectivity flowing through my veins and always being concerned about evidence-based decision-making. It is maybe a product of my having grown up extremely poor. You've got to make really, really good decisions in your life. But I have done this, again, all my life. I also think that Congressman Gianforte opened up a very important item when he talked about whether there are clear and measurable goals and outcomes out there in most federal programs. My experience has been that there are not. And I think it was Dr. Haskins who mentioned, someone did, that we have really, really great research designs out there. And maybe I confuse that with measurable outcomes. But at some point, I'd like to talk, whichever member of the commission talked about that, because I would really like to see where those great research designs are in the federal government, because I'm not aware of them. And then the other issue I'd like to follow up on later, but not now, on the what you all call workforce training programs. I try never to use that T word when it comes to dealing with human beings, because I think we educate people, and I don't use that. But because that comes in the other committee on which I serve, in fact, I chair the Education Workforce Committee, I would like to follow through on that. But I want to ask a couple of questions related to the work that you've been doing. And again, I think it's extraordinarily important work, and I can't thank you enough. Did the commission consider how data quality affects the ability to use the data? Dr. Haskins, I think you allude to this.
Yes, I think we did.
Great. In the Data Act pilot report, which was passed out of the Congress about 3 years ago, OMB recommended continuing the effort to standardize data. Would standardized data collections from federal award recipients improve the evidence-building community's ability to use the data?
I think the answer is yes, but with the caveat that different programs have different objectives, so you'd have to have measures of those particular objectives, and they would differ substantially across projects.
No, again, I'm really well aware of that, and I think one of the concerns I have, I was a reader for programs in the Department of Education. And to the extent possible, readers got information, got evidence about the success or failure of programs. And then the readers would evaluate, recommend to the staff. The staff would then ignore the recommendations of the readers based on the evidence that we were presented, which we thought was pretty good. You all have any ideas on how we can make sure that decisions within the agencies are made on evidence other than utilizing our oversight responsibilities here?
I have two quick recommendations. One, grill the senior officials when they're nominated about their attitudes about evidence and whether they plan to use it. And second, when you get reports from federal agencies that are under your jurisdiction, which is huge, as I understand it, call them before the committee and grill them on these issues, because what you described does happen. I know it happens, and the officials that are responsible for it should be called on the carpet.
Right. And the last thing I would say to you is, in considering the reauthorization of the Higher Education Act, we've had probably 20 hearings. What we heard from people who complained about the data they submit to the federal government is that we have lots and lots of data and little information. So I would ask you all to keep that in mind as we push the collection of more data, that we try to make the connection between, and I think you are, the connection between data for data's sake and data which provides us information. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back, and the chair now recognizes